Hey everyone, welcome to the first ever RTS podcast. I'm Mike Tuchscherer. I'm the founder of Reactive Training Systems. Um, just a little bit about me in case you don't already know me. I've done very well in powerlifting. I've won the USAPL National Championship 8 times. I've done well at the world level as well. I've been a world level medalist 5 times. I've got a couple world records in the deadlift in total. As we'll talk about probably a little bit later, that stuff isn't terribly important. The important thing is just to kind of give me a foot in the door. Much more important than that is the results of the people that I've coached. I've been fortunate enough to coach around 3 dozen or so national champions, a handful of other world record holders and stuff like that. But most importantly, I would say is some probably dozens and dozens of just ordinary lifters who've gone on to set some PRs. So hopefully I've got some important things to, some important knowledge to impart on you guys, but I'm not going to be doing this alone. We've got on the line with me today is Adam and Paulie. So Adam, first, you're up. Do you want to tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So I'm just a dude, so to speak. I've been working with Mike for the last year or so, and as a managing editor for RTS. And my background is I was a competitive swimmer for 16 years, and got into CrossFit, and then found powerlifting through CrossFit. And to this point, I've done 3 competitions, and I've just been working in the background to help Mike build up RTS as a premier strength and conditioning company on a how do we make our lifters better and improve our coaching as well.
Yeah, you've been able to kind of start getting your hand involved in some coaching as well, right?
Yeah, a little bit. I've been doing some coaching for individual clients on the side, just people I know. Haven't really gone full up on really making it known around the internet that I'm into coaching right now. But I'm definitely no Jake Sipkin or Rudy Nielsen or one of those guys. But it's definitely something that I plan on doing in the future and down the road is coaching more athletes.
A little bit about yourself?
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, I mean,
my name is Paulie Steinman. I own and run and coach and pretty much do everything along with my wife Rebecca at South Brooklyn Weightlifting Club, and you can probably guess where it is, but for those who don't know, it is in Brooklyn, New York. We've been doing this since 2010, and this kind of came out of I'd done CrossFit 2009 when it was still kind of cool, in just a little more underground. Let's say that. I found that I gravitated towards the heavy lifts, wanted to do that a lot more, and then kind of worked through that pretty quickly as far as becoming the strongest in the gym, which frankly is not saying a lot, and I can talk about perspective later, but it kind of led me to start South Brooklyn Weightlifting Club in 2010 because I needed a place to lift, and just started watching running training and started coaching. I think I started working with you, Mike, about probably 2.5 years ago, and it took me about a year of RTS, RPE application before I felt comfortable coaching it myself, and now I've been using that, mixed in with a couple other techniques in coaching my lifters to great result. Currently we have about 150 members at the gym, and the gym is pretty much all powerlifting, maybe a small percentage Olympic weightlifting, and I coach that as well. And we run most people are beginners. Most people come in very, very fresh and green, and we like to encourage lifters to compete Last year we started hosting USAPL meets, and we kind of run the gamut in who we coach, everybody from a novice up to people who are now kind of bursting onto the national scene and hopefully pushing beyond, and we'll see this year. But you know, we're growing, and I'm having a lot of fun doing this.
Yeah, definitely. I know that you helped us out, me and Matt Gary, who we'll introduce you guys to in a later episode. But me and Matt Gary ran a combined team at Raw Nationals, and I know Paulie was there helping us out. There's no way we could have handled everybody, so having Paulie helping out, helping to handle lifters, it's really instrumental to have another experienced set of eyes, another set of eyes that, you know, people that know what they're doing to help handle your lifters. That's a really important thing, and I know that we really appreciate that. But you have some weightlifters in your gym as well, right, Paulie?
We do. It fluctuates. You know, so probably about 5 to 10% of our gym are Olympic weightlifters. So we end up coaching both. It's nice. It's nice cross-pollination, if you will, because you know, I look at my gym as being a barbell sports gym. So we've got two barbell sports: Olympic weightlifting, powerlifting, and it allows me to ideally get my Olympic weightlifters strong and use some of the kind of Olympic weightlifting concepts for the powerlifters to get them a little more explosive. So it works very well. But on any given evening, we'll have a mix of Olympic lifters and power lifters, and we really go for kind of a training hall kind of feel. So if anybody's been in a warm-up room for any Olympic weightlifting or powerlifting, this gym has kind of that same feel. I'd say a little bit cleaner, though. So
I've got a question for you, Paulie.
Yes.
How do you incorporate RPE into your Olympic weightlifting programming?
It's hard because Olympic lifters are completely married to percentages from my experience. So I I try to trick them a little bit and just equate just the way that we do for a novice lifter who's first learning RPEs, where we'll equate the RPEs back to percentages. So if they're, say, doing, you know, they're working up to an 8, you know, we'll say it's about 80%. And we'll also watch them, and then I'll slowly kind of bring them over to understand what it means to leave a couple reps back and not go all the way out, and not necessarily be married to the hard percentages because that's so variable. And one of the things I've noticed for ours is that we have a lot of people coming from work. We have a lot of professionals. Nobody is a professional weightlifter. I mean, it doesn't exist. But RPEs work really well for all of our lifters because it allows them to really just train for the day. But it's something, as far as coming back to Olympic weightlifters, I'm pushing it. I'm working on it. It's not fully taking hold yet, but it's something that I'm very interested in doing because I think that it'll push their strength. Otherwise, people tend to, what I've seen is the Olympic weightlifters will plateau at a certain weight, strength weight, just because they'll go up to that percentage and stop. And they don't test their strength lifts nearly as much as they would their Olympic lifts.
I see, yeah. It's an interesting concept, though, right? Because RPE as a tool is most useful when you're kind of on the upper end of that threshold. You know, I was talking to some people about this in the context of powerlifting. And if you have let's say a percentage-based program that has you doing, I guess really low effort work, like lots of sets but few reps at a modest percentage. Like let's say you're doing triples or sets of 4 at like 70%. Like that's not hard, you know. So how much does RPE really impact, you know, a session like that? To my mind, that's kind of one of the limits of RPE. It's not that it's necessarily poorly suited for something like that. It's just that I don't think it matters a whole lot, you know. If you're doing, say, a couple reps with 70% and it's just really easy work, who cares if it's a bad day? You know, like it's not going to really affect your work. You're still going to be able to do it. On the flip side, if we're talking about doing a triple with 90%, you know, a good day or a bad day has a big impact. So I don't know. To me, it just seems like it's a tool to be used and needs to be used appropriately. You know.
I agree. It makes more sense for the higher percentages, and I think when it also does give our lifters, you know, and I don't have experience obviously with other coaches lifters, but our lifters, they like to go heavy. They like to lift, and this kind of helps them regulate a little bit where they could go heavy if everything's working. And we use technical failure a lot. So as soon as the lift starts to look bad, as soon as they start twisting and turning, we'll shut it down, because they're not competing in the squat, and there's no reason why they should push so hard that they could potentially injure themselves and stop themselves from training in their primary lifts, in the snatch and the clean and jerk. Sometimes, you know, it's to me it's a state of mind also. It's not being locked into one particular thing. It's being a little bit fluid and being a little more in touch with themselves for their training and for the day, so they don't go in and just kind of execute blindly. I want them to be aware of their training.
Yeah, I definitely think it's good for that. It's good for that kind of that sort of awareness of what you're doing and how. I used to say how you feel, you know, but I've said this a few times now. I think people sometimes get the wrong impression when I say how do you feel. You know, they get this impression that it's like this emotional thing. It's not so much, you know,
there's no room for emotions in training. We know that.
It's not so much like, you know, well, how's your heart doing, you know, or anything like really far out there like that. It's like, how was your performance? It's an attempt at evaluating your performance, and yeah, it's a subjective scale, but you can still be fairly accurate with a subjective scale. I mean, we're not talking about, you know, the difference between life and death, or putting, you know, landing a spacecraft on a comet or something. Like, if you're off a couple decimal places, that's not going to be the end of the world at this point, you know. But you can be pretty accurate with RPE, and I think that's the point, and kind of goes back to what you were saying about getting an athlete to just be more aware of how they're performing, you know.
And I think it's important also. In the beginning, it doesn't. I find that for a lot of lifters, in the beginning, the RPEs don't make sense. And what I like is being able to watch them. And after watching them for a little bit, I have an understanding of where their lifting's at and where their head's at. And what I encourage them to do is just collect the data at first.
Yes.
Just collect the data, put in their notebook, put in their log, however they're recording their data. Just hold on to that data. And after a period of time, it will start to make sense, because they'll build perspective, and then they'll start to understand what a 7 means and what an 8 means, and going to a 9 and going a little bit over, stopping just because they're under emotional duress from doing too much volume, or stopping because they think that their form broke, but there was no, you know, there's a million things that could happen, kind of, that really have no bearing on their training, but it's allowing them to kind of fall back on the hard data.
That's interesting you say that, because I'd like to throw in that, not only just echo that, but yeah, because you can also take that data, then look back in 8 months and say, wow, what the hell was I doing? And then it also just kind of highlights that, you know, on some days you'll start training, you'll work up to your, you know, like a heavy set, and it won't feel anything like how terrible your warm-ups may have felt that day. And I think that you know, kind of talks a little bit about, hey, how you feel is kind of a lie a little bit in some ways. But
oh yeah, no, we have so we have a lot of different professionals that come into our gym, and sometimes they could have the worst possible day ever. You know, people who work in finance, and just horrible finance day, and they'll come in and they'll say, well, I'm just gonna, work up to my top RPE, and then I'm not gonna do any drops. And before you know it, they have one of the best sessions they've had in a long time. So just kind of coming in with a preconception doesn't quite do it. And once they get into it, things could change on a dime.
And the opposite is true too.
Exactly. People are feeling awesome and they just tank out real quick. So staying with the numbers a little bit, it's a nice blend. That's kind of what attracted to me to all of this in the first place, was the nice blend of just kind of numbers and just seasoned with a little bit of emotion.
I gotta say though, like the phrase "how you feel is a lie" is one of the most irritating phrases that's common in strength sports right now.
I did that for a reason, right?
Yeah, I get to get on my soapbox about it now. I've been told that my feelings on this are a bit I don't know, irrational, or maybe I'm misunderstanding the use of the phrase or whatever. But in my experience, when somebody says "how you feel is a lie," what they mean is, don't feel like training, train anyway. Is your leg broke? Train anyway. Like it's kind of this excuse to always go hard. And I just don't get it, and I don't think that that's really what this is about. Like I don't even think it makes sense. Like, how you feel is a lie. No, I promise you really do feel that way. Now, whether or not you should do something about it or not, that's a different question, And
it's kind of like telling someone to toughen up for no reason. I mean, just last night, for instance, one of our lifters started saying, he's like, I feel like I'm overtrained, and I know because I start, at work, I'm starting to yell at people and throw things, and
it sounds like he's not getting enough sleep then.
Well, it's a combination of that.
Yeah. I'm trying to imagine a workplace where that might be appropriate behavior.
Remember, this is New York. A lot can happen. But he I said to him, then don't take your drop set. And then what he came back with, and this is the interesting part, and this is how you feel as a lie. This is kind of plays to what you're saying, Mike. He's like, well, if I don't, I feel like I'm quitting. I feel like I'm not doing my work if I don't take the drop set. I said, well, you just told me that you feel like you're overtrained. So I said, listen to that. I said, it's not going to kill you if you skip a drop set. You'll be back tomorrow, and we'll see how you feel. But maybe get home, get an extra half hour of sleep, and stop throwing things.
Yeah. I think being overtrained.
That's a really interesting take. Okay, so the demographic of people that I normally work with is skewed, but once in a while I get to work with somebody who's a ranked beginner, or I get to talk to some people who've been training for 6 months or something like that, and that's a really useful conversation. It's always kind of a wake-up call to talk to people like that. And one question I always get when I'm talking to more novice-type lifters is, how do you stay motivated, And that question, no matter how many times I get it, always comes as a shock, because it's like, what do you even mean, how do you stay motivated? It's as if training is dependent on this emotional feeling, like this desire to train, and it's really not. You just do it. You do what you're supposed to do. So, I mean, on one end, there's this notion that you need to be motivated to train, which isn't true, and I think novice lifters maybe overvalue, how they feel, like in terms of that motivation to train. But then you have another group of lifters who, it's what you were talking about, Paulie. It's always like, I always have to do it. I have to outwork my competition and stuff like that all the time. And I think that I don't know, it's a nice phrase. It can be motivating and whatnot, but I'm not sure that that's the optimal way to go about it.
Well, Mike, you talk about momentum being such an important aspect of training. And that's kind of, and I do push that at our gym, where I'd rather see the guy cut one drop set, go home a little early, and then come back a little bit stronger the next day than to even have a big discussion about it. And you know, the main thing is I have to tell him it's okay. You're not cutting, you know, you're not kind of getting out of doing any more work. You'll be okay. So,
Yeah.
but I think that's one of our jobs as a coach, is to help. You know, I always say that, you know, I don't have the lifter's feelings, and I can be very objective. And that allows me to take a look at him and say, they've put in a lot of work. And you know, this particular lifter has come back from injury, and he's working his way up, and he's doing really well for himself. And so the last thing I want him to do is push it just a little hard, go right back into that realm of injury, and then he's on the sidelines for another 3 months.
Exactly.
So it's definitely a balance, but yeah, certain people just are not necessarily, they don't have that same connection. They have, you know, whatever they've got going on in their head, unfortunately they can't approach it. And we've talked about this with a workman's attitude. They can't just coming in and just executing and taking off. It becomes tied in with their entire lives, and that's where it gets a little dicey sometimes.
It seems like if you just build good habits, like make it part of your routine, and you do these things consistently, that is probably the surest road to success. And that, I think, applies more than anything to just about every walk of life.
Yeah, I mean, that gives you a really good base to deviate from, you know. Like we had talked about auto-regulation. The whole point of auto-regulation is you have this really good plan, and you make course corrections throughout the training. You know, you adjust the plan so that it fits your real-life physical state. You know, I think that's exactly what you're talking about. You know, you start out with this habit of, I'm going to train. You know, that's your default answer is, I'm going to train. When in doubt, train. But when these things go on, like you're feeling overtrained or something like that, you know, you do have the latitude to make some course corrections. And one thing that Paulie said that I thought was really good was the coach doesn't have the lifter's emotions, right? So it doesn't mean that he doesn't know what the emotions are. It's just that he's not subject to them. Like the emotions aren't affecting your decision making.
You become an outside consultant at that point.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and that's what the various tools are trying to do. Like, remember, I've been self-coached for almost my entire career, you know, and even the times when I'm not really self-coached, I'm training by myself. So you need tools, you need a system in place that collects that data, the emotional components as well as all the other components, and helps you make a decision without overvaluing the emotional side, which, I mean, that's what track is designed to do. That's what, you know, these other tools are designed to do. Now, if you have a coach available to you, then that's great, you know. If you're an inexperienced coach, or, you know, you need some, if you're like me, you're more of a numbers type of guy, then there are tools available to help you, you know, kind of make that data useful, you know, without overvaluing it. And I think it's the overvaluing of emotions that's what gets people in trouble. That's where you start to fall into this trap of, like, every other week, oh, I'm overtraining, so I'm going to deload, you know, or the flip side is, you know, team no days off kind of thing.
Right. I'm not going hard enough ever until I break.
Yeah.
All right. So we've talked a lot about RTS and auto-regulation. We should probably get back on course here a little bit about talking some of the things that are going on in RTS right now, if you don't mind.
Yeah, well, actually, before we get into that, it came to me earlier when we were just getting started. Paulie, you've got a meet coming up at your gym, right?
I do.
When is that?
That's April 25th and 26th. I think we're about, of this year, we're about 60 out of 100 lifters in right now that have registered. We have a lot of good lifters signed up, and it's even rumored that that a certain Matt Gary might be lifting at our meet
really?
for that weekend. But yeah, I don't know if he wants me to put that out there, but he signed up for it. So now he probably hates me. But regardless, he wanted to do a meet that was that's not gonna, that'll be a little low profile for him. But I guess that's not gonna happen now. But I've really enjoyed hosting meets here, and it's only my second one, but that's how much I've enjoyed it. And we have great staff coming in, coaching. Anybody's been at a larger USAPL meet. We'll have the pirate announcer Gino at our meet. Love him or hate him, he does bring a good energy to the meet. Yeah, but yeah, so we've got that coming up, and so that actually works as a great tool for just helping organize our lifters training, because then I can just say, hey, doesn't matter if you're doing the meet or not, but I'm periodizing your training for this time period.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I heard I had several lifters compete at the first meet that you hosted, and I heard a lot of really good things about it.
Thank you.
If I wanted to find out more information about it, where would I go? How would I find out?
There's the meet itself is listed on the USA Powerlifting calendar, and you can also go to our website, southbrooklynwc.com. There's an events tab, and under the events tab is the application for the meet.
Cool. We'll need to put a link up for that as well.
Yep. We'll add that in post.
Cool. We have some interesting stuff going on RTS-wise as well. For one, just recently, memory's failing me already, but it's the lack of sleep. But we just recently kicked off a new coaching program, guided programming. It's very much the same thing as the custom one-on-one programming. It's just that it's not entirely one-on-one. We still customize training. It's pretty much the same thing. It's just that instead of kind of having somebody take care of all the in-between steps, the lifter needs to be more involved in the overall process. So we've got that going on, which I'm having a lot of fun with. We do weekly coaching calls, which are not terribly different from this right here. Paulie's been on several. We answer questions that the lifters have. We discuss kind of some theory things if any of those questions come in, things like executing the workout, how to adapt the training for different things. So that's always quite a bit of fun. And then the big thing coming up for us, we're doing a seminar in Florida. It'll be May 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, and we're looking at that being in the Boca Raton or Fort Lauderdale region. And as always, you can get more information for that one off of our website. We'll put a link up for that too. I'm pretty excited about that one. Me and Adam will be there. Paulie will be there too. We're going to have Mike Zordos, Matt Gary, Susie, Hartwig Gary. I'm sure you guys, or I would hope that you're at least familiar with those names, because those are some pretty heavy hitters in USA Powerlifting. And Matt is such a good coach. Matt is just a really top-notch coach. I'm really glad that he's coming back, and Dr. Zordos, of course, everybody always loves to have him come and talk about periodization and stuff. He's a really entertaining presenter, plus he's got a science background, plus he's got the Wilks score on his squat is roughly equal to mine. He squatted, I'm going to probably mess it up now, but I believe 507 at, what's the weight class? Paulie, help me out, 70, 72, 74 kilo weight class?
74.
74? Okay. I wasn't off too much. But
right.
But yeah, he's got a pretty killer squat as well. So somebody who's been there and done that, and has kind of both ends of the spectrum in terms of experience. And then Susie, I mean, what can you say about Susie? She's a 23-time national champion, has got several, world championships as well. She's a phenomenal lifter, just a phenomenal person to be around, an extremely positive person. So that's going to be going on, like I said, May 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. We're pretty pumped about that one. I love getting together for these seminars. It's always so fun to, get there and just hang out with people. Like, there's always a great exchange of information, but powerlifting can be kind of a solitary thing. Of course, this is me saying that, like I train by myself in the basement. So powerlifting can be a bit of a solitary thing. It's nice to do it around some other people at some point.
Did you mention Ben Escrow is going to be there as well?
Oh yeah, I forgot about Ben. Man, forgot all about Ben. That's a shame too, because Ben is Ben's the man when it comes to nutrition stuff. Like, there's a lot of stuff out there, about how to eat right and stuff, but Ben is somebody who's got the scientific background. He's also done bodybuilding shows himself. He competes in powerlifting now, but he's also got an extensive coaching background in preparing people and stuff like that. So Ben's a real go-to resource. We're going to give him plenty of time to talk about nutritional stuff. I mean, yeah, how can you really have a complete seminar and not cover, nutritional aspects and restorative aspects and things like that? So we'll get to do that. We'll talk quite a bit. We'll hang out quite a bit. We've got several things planned. You can see a full schedule of events on the website. Get some training sessions in. All of us will have an opportunity to train together, which will be really fun as well. So, yeah, we're really looking forward to that.
And I'll just kind of back all of that up by saying, last year we hosted a RTS seminar at our gym, and I think one of the biggest takeaways for people were just kind of the continuous direct interaction with all of the presenters, all of the coaches on multiple levels. So learning from their experience, having their eyes on them during the training sessions, and just being able to bring a good group of people together and share ideas is just invaluable. And everybody was super positive. Just the response was great. So
yeah, and at risk of belaboring the point, we're going to do a few things a little different than we've done in the past. For one, your lunches will be lunches for Saturday and Sunday would be included with the ticket. That way, it's just a little bit easier. It's one less thing for you to worry about. Plus, it's more time for all of us to kind of sit around. It's more time for you guys to ask questions and just kind of gain some additional knowledge and experience. We're planning more evening events, as well. So we'll kind of keep the party rolling into the evening as well. So plus this one stretches out over 2.5, almost 3 full days. Of course you don't have to be there for all 3 days if that's not possible for you, but it's an availability. So like I said, I'm probably going on too much about the seminar, but we are really excited about it, and you'll have to check that out if you're anywhere within the area or willing to make it down to Florida. Plus, I mean, it's Florida. It's South Florida. It's early May, so it's not going to be too hot, but it'll be perfect, kind of early year vacation weather, hopefully, right?
Yeah. It's going to be awesome. Florida that time of year is awesome.
Yeah. All right, so I think that pretty much wraps it up for us for this first podcast. So if you're interested in watching these things live, if you want to attend a live podcast, ask some questions and stuff like that, we're going to start doing that. We obviously didn't do it for this one, but we're going to do it in the future. So if you're interested in seeing them live, make sure that you sign up for the RTS newsletter. We'll link that also. So we'll have plenty of links for you. The link to sign up for our newsletter is currently on the Facebook page, and we're working on making that more accessible too. So just want to remind everybody, stay focused in your thinking as well as on your training. Thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you next time.